Hey, look at that. You know what that is?
What?
That is a fairy egg. If you've been following along at home, you may recall that one of our chickens, Goldie Hen, is broody right now. We lost another hen, Crow, to a predator. So that leaves us with one hen right now who is currently laying eggs. Now, we're not to the point yet where we count on our flock to provide all of our eggs. The chickens we have right now are more or less just a test flock. We ended up with about 6. Just to see how to raise them and all of that stuff. It's our first time with chickens, and we didn't want to just jump right in with a big flock and lose all of them. But we've been pretty successful so far, with the exception of losing the one probably to a raccoon. So I think probably next spring we're going to try and get a larger flock and maybe try to actually collect some eggs. But our chicken right now that we have laying is Anna Ranjado. And she's a very consistent layer. We usually get an egg a day from her. But a few days ago when I went to collect her egg in the morning, I found something kind of strange. Check this out. Look at this little bitty thing. Now if you've raised chickens for a while, you probably already know what this is. But since this is our first flock, I didn't know that a chicken could lay an egg this small. Let's look at it in comparison to one of Anna's regular eggs. Note, first of all, of course, it's way smaller. But also look at the color. It's a lot darker. And I really can't get this across on film, but the shell feels a little bit thicker as well. And you can see the dark speckles on it. At first I was a little worried that something might be wrong, so I had to look it up. And I found out that these things are pretty normal. They just happen, especially early on in a chicken's life, laying life, I guess, when the hormones haven't quite leveled out, and egg production begins before an egg is actually released. So before the egg cell is released from the ovary, the rest of the egg production kicks into gear, and you end up with, usually it's going to be just an egg with egg white inside of it. Now this can also happen if a foreign object, like let's say a piece of tissue sloughs off and starts making its way down the reproductive tract. It can trigger the egg production process and you'll get something like this, and it may even have the chunk of tissue inside of it. But since Anna is pretty young, I'm going to guess that this probably is just full of egg white, nothing else. And there are several things that I could do with this egg. I could try to convince a toad or a serpent or maybe a witch to incubate the egg so we could hatch out a cockatrice or a basilisk. Back during the Middle Ages, they called these cock eggs because they believed that these eggs were laid by a rooster that had been impregnated by the devil himself. And that if a serpent or a toad or a witch were to incubate this egg, it would hatch out a cockatrice, which is something similar to a basilisk. I could take this egg and run it over to the front yard and toss it over my house and let it crash to the ground on the other side, as was the custom back during the Middle Ages to keep a basilisk from hatching out. But I'm kind of curious about what's inside, so I'm going to take it in with my little homestead helper and we're going to crack this thing open and take a look. Hey. Look at that. You know what that is?
What?
That is a fairy egg. Do you believe that fairies are real? Yeah. Do you think that's a fairy egg? What do you think's in it then?
A fairy.
You think a fairy is in there?
Because it's a fairy egg.
We're gonna find out, aren't we? You know what else those are called?
What?
Fart eggs.
Fairies don't fart.
Fairies don't fart.
Only boy fairies, not girl fairies.
Oh,
There's a girl fairy in here.
there's a girl fairy in there. Don't shake it. If you do, then you'll rattle that fairy around and she'll hit her head.
Oh.
Hey, either a fairy is gonna be in there or maybe it's just full of fart.
No. No farts are in there. This
No.
is one fairy.
Okay, well let's find out. First we're gonna crack the chicken egg.
Okay.
Crack it and put it in that bowl. Oh!
Oh.
Oh no!
Get off me.
Here, wipe it on the bowl there. The bowl, you silly! Okay, let's get rid of this shell. Well, actually, let's hold on to this shell for just a second. Alright, so what do we have? What is that?
Eggs.
Yeah, you broke the yolk, didn't you?
Yeah.
This was a regular chicken egg. We kind of broke the yolk when we cracked it, didn't we? I thought you were doing a good job there for a second, and then you just right there at the end. But this is one of Anna's regular chicken eggs. This is what it looks like. Are you ready to crack the fairy egg now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, we rinsed our bowl out. Now, let's crack this fairy egg. Are you ready? Okay. Is it harder to crack?
I did it.
Here, crack it some more. One more time. Now then. Put it over the bowl. There you go. Is it gonna be a fairy?
Oh, that's
Oh my goodness.
yolk. It's just yolk.
No, that's the egg white. The yellow part is the yolk. So, I'm kind of surprised. Are you surprised? What did you think was gonna be in it?
A fairy.
Was there a fairy? Are you sad? A little bit. But I expected the whole thing just to be albumin or egg white, but as you can see right here, there's a little speck of yolk in there. So I'm not sure if this was just an egg that didn't quite develop all the way. I don't know if it shows up on the camera, but it even looks like it has the little blastodisc. So it would have been, well, it would have been a viable egg, but I don't think anything would have developed because the yolk was so small. But I don't know, that's interesting. Well, that was fun. Wasn't what we expected, was it? It wasn't a fairy, and it wasn't just egg white. But it was interesting.
Thanks for watching.
Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and ring the notification bell so you'll be back again next time for more daily sustainable living.